Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to another wonderful day in our awesome town. Today, we're going to talk to some of the people who are out there making it really look great. And if you've been watching these are shows called Life After KCPS out there in the real world. I jumped into making these recordings because we were curious of really what's been going on with students after they leave high school and go out into our city. And I've had a pretty cool response from people jumping on and wanting to tell us about their path and maybe how they discovered that path. No secret that the hope would be that that's a way, young people, you can find your own, is by listening to other people talk about their discovery of what they wanted to do with themselves and their lives and their passion. So we're kind of trying to open that door and that window to these wonderful two fellas today and have them start to tell us about their path. So I'm joined this morning by Isaac Tapia and Rodrigo Alvarez, who were both visual art majors and graduated from that awesome place I keep talking about, Paseo Academy. So let's turn it over to these guys. They'll tell you what they've been doing out there, and you may have seen some of their work lately, because I think they're getting more and more of their work out there on the walls of Kansas City. So tell us, guys, what year did you graduate? You're both from the same class and knew each other then, right?
No.
No. Who's older? Oh, nice. Okay. Well, I knew that probably back then, but I don't think I did now. So, Rodrigo, start us up, man. What's been going on with you since you left the halls of Paseo? Not that you were in the halls.
I was not in the halls. I was in class, sir.
Of course.
After graduating, I attended MCC for a little bit for some little graphic design, and both Isaac and I are DACA recipients, but we weren't then. So I kind of got dismissed nicely. And then after that, I kind of began working in automotives, like just working on cars, vehicles. I was a mechanic for about 10 years. And I was never too far away from art. My passion was in sculpture. So I was still kind of banging out some sculptures. And then a few years later, I met with Isaac, and then him and I kind of caught up. He's a little younger. So he was showing me what he was doing. He was in a studio then, and, I never really had a studio per se. So he was showing me like what he had been doing with art, so on and so forth. And then fast forward a few months, my sister works for KCPS, and she had heard of an artist who had dropped out of a mural project and said, "Hey, would you like to give it a try?" And I hadn't done art in a minute, not two-dimensionally anyway. So I said, yes, why not? And then I am like in front of this wall and with a little brush, and I'm like, you know what, let me just hit up Isaac. So I called Isaac up, and then he comes up with spray paint, and I'm like, this guy's crazy. Okay, cool. So yeah, since then we've been painting murals. It's been about 4 years now.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I actually talked to your sister just the other day, and she told me to be sure to ask you where you got the idea or how you kind of got the first jump. And so how awesome that you beat her. You beat me to asking. You see that? He gave you complete credit from the very start of the interview.
There you go.
Well done, sir. That is awesome. So, hey, same question for you, Isaac. Like, roll it back for us a couple days, walking out of the door of Paseo. What year was that, by the way?
That was in 2010. Yeah, wow. 2010. It's been...
Wow. It's a little while. And I was looking, I did a couple flyers. I know you did a couple flyers for Coffee House. One of my absolute favorites I can remember is that you made the steam of the coffee spell out the words. And, I looked for that everywhere and I couldn't find it, but I kept a lot of things like that. But I knew seeing that design, like, that it was very marketable and very, like, people loved that one and wanted keep that one a lot. And so that was really neat. Tell us kind of what was going on with you as you were leaving the doors of Paseo.
Yeah, so I graduated in 2010, and I feel like for, I guess, people that are undocumented or kids that are undocumented, they go through this hard part in their lives when they're in high school and they find out, oh, it's time to go to college, but I don't have any documents to actually go to college. So it was kind of hard for me to figure out how to go from that to college. Luckily, I was able to figure some stuff out. I attended KCAI for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, because of family situations, I was not able to continue my 2 years, but that didn't really stop me from continuing my art process. I continued to make art on the side once in a while, not very often, to be honest with you. I was just basically working. I helped my parents with their janitorial business. So I did that for a while. Then DACA came, and like Rico said, we were able to apply for DACA, and I tried to go back to college like 3 times, but it was very scary for me, just because I had not gone to college, and I was like, going back to KCI is really not the thing for me, because it just wasn't for me. So I tried to go to Johnson County. After taking a test 3 times to go back to school, it was really scary. So I decided to venture more into my artwork instead. And I continued to paint, and I continued to be persistent with that. And like Rico said, after a few years of having DACA and actually quitting my job with my parents, never work with your parents. Ooh, shut. I'm just saying.
Nice. And do you want to tell us why? Like, why should you never work with your parents?
Well, I just think they're always gonna treat you like your kid. Like that's my son, so you gotta do it, kind of thing. But
I see.
That's the only reason.
You gotta branch out too, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I quit my job. I started working at a ballet over in Plaza for a while, and then I was able to apply to a position at Matty Rhodes, teaching kids after school. And that's about the time that Rico called me and said, "Hey, there's this mural." And when I got there, it was probably like about a 20-foot long by, I don't know, like 12 feet tall.
It was about
10 feet tall, 20 feet long. And he had like a tiny 1-inch brush with, it was a tiny brush. And so, I mean, like you said,
I like my brush.
I did like the brush. But like you said, we definitely got together, and that was our first mural together. And we were like, this is kind of cool. And Rico had actually quit his job like a month later. Did you quit your job a month later?
Yeah, I think I quit my job about a month later, and because I had done something that I didn't want to do for almost a decade of my life, out of necessity. And I was kind of clouded by the fact that I had lost a third of my life then. Well, it was actually more than that, but to doing something I didn't want to do just for the bare necessities. And so I had a little savings and had the luxury of not doing anything for like 3 or 4 months. I mean, that is like physical work. Mm-hmm. And then, we tried the art business, but, we were a little too green then, and we weren't generating, like substantial income. So I went back to the workforce.
Sure.
we didn't know
that we got to keep something coming in all the time to do what we love. So once it gets closer to doing what you love and it coming in also, is that kind of where you guys are now, or that's what it's starting to feel like?
that's exactly where we are right now.
I'm so excited for you then. Well, then tell us about now a little bit, because I don't think the listeners can see what I've seen, and I hope they will get a chance to experience visually what you guys do, because we don't necessarily have a piece right now to reference, but go out and find the work that they're going to tell you about. But how many murals have you done now since that first one?
So
like approximately.
I would say around 50 or close to maybe
40 plus, maybe
40 plus. 50.
They're inside restaurants. I don't know. Some restaurants closed down.
Yeah.
There's a controversial couple that have been like, written over the top of. I remember, right? You got the ones you guys did on the side of Menski's of Bader Ginsburg. That's you guys, right?
Yeah, that's over at Westport.
Yeah. And then you came back in and fixed that problem by doing it again.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that. All right. Well, tell us about some of your other stuff that's out there. What have you guys, I know just recently you finished a really big one, right?
Yeah. So that was our first really big mural. It was a 24 foot by 50 by, no, we measured it again. It was 24 by 64 and a half foot long.
Yeah, 64 and a half. That's right.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was for Ewing Marion Kaufman School. We were lucky enough to be contacted by Spray KC, and we were brought on board with other artists to basically paint murals inside the school, and that was really cool.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Beautiful work. Yeah, I got to see it unfold a little bit on social media, and a lot of people are experiencing you guys that way, right? That are kind of coming in touch with what you do. Are you finding people from outside of Kansas City reaching out to you as well?
Yes. So apart from like people like reaching out to us, I know we apply for out of state opportunities all the time. So not out of state yet, but our next week we are going to Iola, Kansas. That would be our first kind of traveling gig, and we're excited for that. This past one with the high school was the very first time we got to use the luxury of a lift.
I saw the lift. Yeah.
Prior to that, it was ladders, which yeah.
Dangerous. Yeah. Wow. Really taking some risk for your art form, right? Like, is that kind of the tradition anyway of being a muralist, is almost being like an acrobat or the ability to do and get to those places nobody else can?
Yeah.
Well, for me, it is because I'm a little bit shorter than Rico, and I'm also really scared of heights. But I get up there.
That's good. Hey, so my first question there brought me to a thought. Do you have people you look up to as muralists? Give me a couple names like of people you would think, not even necessarily locally, but somebody that as you were learning your craft, you think other young people would like to look into. I don't think I could even pull out a few names, to be honest, but I bet you might have one. So like, who else could we look for that you think kind of inspired you or pushed you to go down this path?
You want to go first?
You go first.
Oh, he wants me to go first.
All right, some process time. That's fair.
That's my height.
It goes by height. No, so for me personally, it's always been I've always looked up to like graffiti, street art kind of stuff. So for me, it's people like Belin from Spain, Smo, Kipto, 1000, Doke. Those are the people that I usually watch, and you can find them on YouTube. Mm-hmm. They're always posting things, and their stuff is really amazing. Locally, I would always have to go back to Jose Faust. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the first time I saw him, he was painting the mural over in Independence Avenue. And I was like, who is that man doing something cool?
Yeah.
And that's when I actually, like, I was like, oh, that's cool. I wish I could do that one day. Mm-hmm. And I guess I'm doing it now. But yeah, Jose
I know Faust enough to work with him on some poetry stuff too. And yeah, like some of my favorite work that I've done of my own writing was working with him in a writing workshop or something. He just pulls so much real feeling out of me that, I would, I understand how you could choose him as a great, pathway to understanding the craft, because I think he has done that for countless people in our city. And so shout out to Jose Faust right now, right? For real. How about you, Rico? Who would be some of your influences?
So my influences as far as like mural work have been the same as Isaac's, because Isaac introduced me to those folks. In addition to that, I had never had contact with Jose Faust prior to that, but in the last few years, I've been, kind of around him, and he is an awesome person, super multi-talented, and definitely someone to look up to. Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely put him as definitely someone to look up to locally.
Very cool. All right, well, let's shoot forward. Tell me some goals you guys have then. Like, where do you want to go with this? Is this, that are you starting to have those talks? Are you starting to talk about doing something bigger, building this up, or ways to market yourself, your product, I imagine that's probably the next path, or some form of website or something like that. Is any of that starting to come together?
Yes. So we do have a website, and it is.
Yeah, you can mention it. What's your website?
itraicons.com, and it's ITRA, and ITRA stands for basically our names and surnames, because we're original.
That's smart. Isaac, Tapia, and Rodrigo Alvarez. Did you argue over who goes first in those two letters?
We went by sound.
Yeah.
Whatever sounded better. Because Riot was kind of like weird. We didn't want to stop Riot, so.
Itra. I like it. Yeah. It's meaningful. Okay. Well, so you've got some of that out there, but what you didn't tell me, like, where you want to see this go? What do you guys talk about when you think that way?
We're always talking about traveling, being in other places, and also coming back and being able to
give back
to the community somehow. Just like right now, there's times that some schools do call us, and so we have like a little small, almost like a small curriculum, outlines of how to approach teaching teenagers, high schoolers, how to create their own mural in their school.
Wow.
So that's kind of a way that we're kind of figuring out how to put that into play at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I think that would be one of the goals, to give back to the community. As far as goal of like everything else, it would be definitely traveling and being able to create and put our artwork in different places around the country, and when we can, around the world. Definitely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, appreciate you guys so much for taking the time to talk us through that. I feel like we're kind of talking to people who are going to even print more on our city, and I think that's the honor of having been a teacher and knowing people when they were very young, but then it multiplies, because you guys are out there like leaving marks that make beautiful, beautiful differences and make people think. And, I just appreciate that about what you've decided to do and find and, push through 10 years as a mechanic, even though I imagine you're loaded with skills that some people don't have. No,
I don't want
those skills. All right. But I mean, hey, I will constantly need a mechanic. So I think your talent is bountiful here, and I'm excited for you to see where it goes. And we haven't even looked at the quality of your work. I mean, like, tell me about that. Do people say, my goodness, this is top notch or high level? Are you getting that kind of feedback? Because I would imagine, I'm not a muralist, but to me, it looks really precise and unbelievable sometimes. Like, how did they do that kind of thing? Are you getting that response from people?
I think people are starting to notice growth, because there's a kind of like a morphosis of work. Like, we have gotten better, and we'll just keep getting better.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so it's all out there all over the city. tell us a couple places to go look. And then I want you to think about this ever so important question, what we could tell these young people or not so young people who are watching today that you might have wanted to hear when you were young, or you think young people might need to know right here and now as they're getting their feet set for what they're going to do with their lives. How about a couple places we could see a mural today if we wanted to go find one?
You can go to Café Corazon over on if you go to our website, there are some of them that do have the addresses on them.
Okay.
Café Corazon is one of them that has the address on there. There's some that are inside the River Market. There's also
hydroponics. Oh, the
River Market Hydro. We did a ceiling.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if you look up, it's basically like a
Michelangelo moment.
Yeah.
kind of early work.
All right, very nice. All right. Well, cool. Out there in the city, make sure you go find the work, because then I think you'll see why it's such an honor and pleasure to talk to these two artists today. But then let's throw that over to you. Who wants to go first? What do you think you would share with these young people out there watching?
Oh, God, that's a lot of
no pressure, but I bet they're listening.
So for me, I've always known that I wanted to do art. Didn't necessarily see a path towards, something that was self-sustainable in the art world, or I didn't think there was a business, I guess. But I guess follow your passion, do what feels natural to you. Your calling is always in front of your nose, I guess. And if it isn't, you just gotta keep, kind of keep going. And once you find it, you'll know. And if you found it and you oversaw it, it'll come back and haunt you and get you, like it has me. Art is definitely something that kind of runs deep within me, and I'll always do it. So just do what feels natural.
Fantastic. All right. Follow that, sir. That was a good one.
Well, I feel like I'm going to say something that less deep than that.
That's fine with me.
For me, is more of like, be persistent with what you want to do. Always be persistent. If you decide whatever it is that you got to do, if it's with the arts, in my opinion, you have to learn how to separate your art and the business side of art. That is very important. It's something that we also teach during our conversations with the kids when we go into the high schools. Like, we always want to make sure that business and art, and how to put them side by side, but at the same time not mix them. Because if you don't know how to market yourself, how to do business with your art, it's going to be really difficult. And it's one of those moments that you're going to be lucky if you're found by a gallery or by, whatever, versus putting yourself out there, your own self. Kansas City's best known rapper, Tech9, that's one of them. So I think
Suli's out there.
Yeah, we got some names coming around too. In fact, I talked to Suli a lot on this exact show, and I've got some of his clothes. I wear the real hat every now and again. I wish I was wearing it right now while we're mentioning him. But yeah, you're right. That's a person that definitely understands the art and the business, right? I mean, he has a store, his own clothing line, definitely selling things all over this country. So very good example, and something we can kind of learn from each other, right? Like how to get that business side going. So fantastic. Any other parting words for us as we go about our day on this wonderful Friday? Appreciate you guys so much for all you're doing and all your contributions to our young people out there, but also just the overall aesthetic beauty and change of our city. So final shout out to Kansas City. Anything you want to tell them?
I can't believe it's Friday.
Awesome. Let's leave on that. I think it will be, and we will both enjoy it. So, Kansas City, you've had a treat here today, and you're going to go check out the work of these two wonderful artists and muralists. And it's been my pleasure to talk with you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, both listeners and guests. And we're going to call it good for today. This has been Life After KCPS. Thanks a lot.